It's not so much that I'm accusing anybody else of this. I'm accusing myself of this. I've not spent enough time absorbing the Derrick Harmon pick. I'm going to try to correct that here today. Good morning to you. Good Friday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into hockey and/or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates in the same place that you found this. Harmon, in case anybody's forgotten, was the team's number one pick in the NFL draft a week ago, and it only feels like we've been talking a whole lot more about a whole lot of other picks that happened after him. Now, yeah, we all had our moment when the choice was announced and we saw, a few fleeting pieces of footage of the damage that he did out in Oregon. Went over some of his statistics. He started all 14 games for the Ducks, 45 tackles, 27 solos, 10.5 for losses, 5 sacks, 4 pass breakups, 2 forced fumbles, 2 recovered fumbles. And the best stat of all, coming from our good friends at Pro Football Focus, is that he had 55 pressures generated, more than any other FBS interior defensive lineman by a margin of 11. Next highest was 44. And yet, that same night, tragically, the story that takes over, of course, was the passing of his mother, his reaction to it when he was on the conference call with us. That's what almost everybody seemed to want to know about. And then before you knew it, there was the next pick, Caleb Johnson, in the 3rd round, and it was a running back, which is a sexier position. And then the next day comes along, and there's a quarterback of the national championship Ohio State Buckeyes and Will Howard. And it just, to me, I'm just one person. It felt like our football attention got pulled away in a big hurry. So here's what I did. And I'm at least going to humbly recommend it to you. Find a highlight reel of Harmon. The longer the reel, the better. And I usually don't say that when it comes to interior guys on either side of the ball. It is not really the sexiest footage. This kid and what he makes happen is nothing less than football eye candy. Pure old school football eye candy. He's 6'5", 311. And at that frame, he ran the 40 at the scouting combine in Indianapolis in 4.9 seconds. But you can see it. It plays out in front of your eyes. So I did this. I watched a bunch of these last night. And I'm going to tell you there are 3 characteristics that stood out for me. And these aren't in any particular order. The first, and this was something I was definitely looking for, is that there's really not a discernible difference between how he defends the pass and how he defends the run. And when I say defend the pass, I'm talking about getting after the quarterback. He gets back there, and he doesn't just get back there by shoving somebody around. If he needs or wants to do that, he can, but he also has a real quickness about him. I'm talking about upper body quickness. I heard and read a lot beforehand about his feet. But he also will fool you a little bit, turn himself with his torso, and get to where he wants to go. And he'll get there in a hurry, borderline untouched. I am not going to tell you who that reminds me of. He's also really, really smooth. This is my second one. At stopping the run and persistent about it. What I mean by that is there's plays where it looks like, all right, this play is over for him. There's nothing else really left for him to do. The next thing you know, he's shedding somebody who's right in front of him, and he's the guy that's making the tackle, and it's for no gain. And you're going, wait a second. You were out of this. You couldn't even see what was happening there. Why'd you throw that guy aside? Why? Was it a whistle? And on that note, that upper body quickness that I talked about, it contributes to some solid tackling. When he gets his arms all the way around you, you've got nowhere to go. Or if he gets his arms even partially around you, you've likely got nowhere to go. I am not going to tell you who that reminds me of. But the third thing, and this stood out throughout everything. There's no quit. And there's a fire that's lit that doesn't need a spark. It's going all the time. There's one sequence similar to the one that I just described where it doesn't look like he's really going to be in on a play, throws somebody aside. He sees somebody running with the football up the middle, and he almost looks like he's a little bit disgusted by the fact that the guy even got that far. Takes him from behind, just whips him around and slams him to the grass. And it's not temperamental, it's not dirty. He bounces right back up and heads back to the defense. To him, it's just part of the game. It's not something that anybody necessarily coached up in him. It's just the way his motor goes. And I am not... Should I tell you who he reminds me of? He promised not to hold it against me? I hate when people do that. But you'll say, wait a second, you just threw out that name. That means you think he's just as good as this other guy who achieved all these other things. He reminds me in all of these ways that I just mentioned, at least stylistically, at least from the passion standpoint, and at least from his apparent ability to be able to do everything equally well of no less than Stephon Tuitt. He really does. I can't shake watching him and thinking that I'm watching Steph. Now, if you've been with me for a long time, you'll know how I feel about Steph, both as a football player and as a person. Speaking only for myself, I don't feel that the Steelers' defense has been the same since Steph was lost. And to see this kid doing a lot of what Steph did, making plays out of nothing, wreaking havoc so that others around him make plays. By the way, there's a bunch of that, and there's no statistics for any of that sort of thing. Discarding or avoiding whoever's in front of him as if they're not even there. And I'm talking about through some double teams. My own, no predictions here, no expectations of how you should feel or anybody else. My own level of excitement for adding this young man to the defense is, let's just say I'm not going to be as into the running back and quarterback highlights as I was earlier in the week. This could be a very, very, very good football player in Pittsburgh for a very long time. When we come back, J1Q. Luxenberg, Garbett, Kelly & George is a personal injury law firm in Western Pennsylvania that represents injured people in automobile accidents, workers' compensation cases, and medical malpractice claims. The attorneys at Luxenberg, Garbett, Kelly & George pride themselves in doing what they say they're going to do. It's important to them that when they make you a promise, they keep that promise. And this law firm has been keeping promises for over 80 years. Luxenberg, Garbett, Kelly & George has been AV rated. That's the highest rating a law firm can receive for legal ability and ethics. And the lawyers at the firm have been designated super lawyers, that's a real thing, for over 15 years. Rare combination there. Luxenberg, Garbett, Kelly & George has offices in Cranberry, Newcastle, Beaver Falls, Butler, and Elwood City. Learn more about them at lgkg.com or by calling 888-842-5454. Again, that's 888-842-5454. Today's J1Q comes from Lucas Lemaster, who says, hey DK, I know Will Howard was a 6th round pick. Do you think there's a chance he could end up an unexpected good starter like Brock Purdy with the 49ers? I feel he has really nice speed and a big arm, and if the Steelers get to the playoffs, Howard could surprise a lot of people. Here's the best thing I can say about Howard, in addition to agreeing with your first few assessments there. He does have better foot speed than I think some might realize. He does have not a huge NFL arm, but he's got an arm. That's that he's on the climb. And he's on the climb in part, and I'm pretty sure this is what you were referencing with your last sentence there where you say, if the Steelers get to the playoffs. He showed up in big games. He rose up in big games. He played his very best football in Ohio State's 4 biggest games. And no, Michigan is not that because it's at the end of the regular season. These were the 4 playoff games. He put up numbers. He was vocal. He was demonstrative. He was emotional. He appeared to be in control not only of himself, but of others around him. Those are all pluses. Those are all traits that, you don't normally find in a quarterback in the 6th round, regardless of the quality of the class. So did he fall because of the overall outlook at that position, whereas, it kind of dragged him down with it? That's possible. But whatever the case, not only did the Steelers get him, but they got him after, don't forget, bypassing him themselves in the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th round, when not a soul in the football world would have raised an eyebrow at Howard being taken even as high as the 3rd round. Now, I say all that, and I've also heard that the Steelers consider Howard to be, project's too strong of a term, but there's work to do, like a lot of work. And if you think about other quarterbacks that have come into the NFL in recent years and started bang like that, you can go ahead and think of Joe Burrow, or you can think of Bo Nix. The Broncos went with Nix almost right away. We all got to see that up close and personal when the Steelers went out to Denver, and he appeared in the moment to be a complete catastrophe. Like the Broncos management must have been the dumbest people on earth for drafting this kid at all, much less where they did. But then you see how Nix got stronger over the course of the season. The pick was justified. The Broncos actually kept their heads above water for the better part of the schedule. And he now looks, and that's just looks, like he'll be their guy for the foreseeable future. It's a very hard position. Mentally, physically, experience-wise, leadership-wise. Don't, Lucas, this is what I'm trying to tell you here, be expecting to see something from him in 2025. You are going to see a lot of snaps from him in the preseason because that's the nature of preseason football. He'll be out there in the second half, I'm sure, of all 3 of those games. And you're going to see things flash. It's going to get you excited. But as we're going to point out from now until the end of time, Kenny Pickett had the most perfect preseason ever because he was running a vanilla offense against vanilla defenses, as he, to his credit, pointed out at the time. Things completely change once the other guys are scheming against you. Just be patient. That's all I'm saying. The Steelers got themselves a really, really nice-looking quarterback in the 6th round. We'll see how it plays out. With or without Aaron Rudolph here, that's not likely for the coming season. I appreciate the question. Lucas, I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers. Don't forget, we have a 4 p.m. Eastern Time double shot of Steelers. That's our live video that we do, which you can catch on YouTube. You can catch it on our site, DK Pittsburgh Sports, and actually a bunch of other places, but stick with those 2. Better experience there. This show will be back next Monday.